You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
When we went to leave, we saw this car again, and there was just a naked man running behind the car, wearing high heels and tights. And that's it, nothing else.
Because at this point now, I'm realizing that I have no idea who this dude is that I'm talking to, and he's trying to get me to go to his apartment with him. And he's pretending like he is the person that I was supposed to be meeting.
Police say a man wearing a purple bunny mask like this one allegedly tried to remove the 7-year-old girl from school grounds.
You are listening to Canadian Gothic.
Miss Madelayne Klein, we're here for episode or volume 34 of Encounters with Creeps, and I hope you brought your seatbelt because we got some wild stuff to get into tonight.
I always do. I always come prepared.
Do you want to maybe start with an apology?
No, I rarely do something wrong. So what do you think I need to apologize for?
I'm going to play you a voicemail. This is some feedback from, I believe, volume 33, possibly volume 32. It's addressing a moment that I don't recall happening, but I know it's not something I would say, so it must be you. A listener named Tanis, I think it deserves an apology.
Hey guys, it's Tanis calling from BC. Just listening to the Encounters with Creeps, and I took a little offense to the fact that you said that people that are 70 are ancient. You know, didn't you know that 70 is the new 50? Or something like that. Anyway, I just had to put that little bug in your ear. Love the show. You guys are great. Keep it up.
Do you consider 70 to be ancient?
No, it had to have been you.
It wasn't. I'm like knocking on 70's door. I'll be 50 before you know it. I would never say 70's ancient.
Well, because just recently in my life, I have a whole new appreciation for aging. Like, I would like to personally apologize to all of the 30-year-olds I thought were old when I was 18.
Yeah, that's right.
And like, I remember my dad's 50th birthday. I was 16. And I was like 50, like that's ancient.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, oh, 50. You're a spring chicken.
Yeah, it's true. I remember being a kid and seeing like my dad's friends in the newspaper with that, like, Lordy, look who's 40. That's a thing in Cape Breton. You would put someone in the newspaper on their 40th birthday. And
yes.
in my mind, that was like I saw that as such an old person. But anyway, all this to say, Tanis, I don't think, I hope it wasn't me that said it. I certainly don't think 70 is ancient. My mother is right around 70, and for all intents and purposes, she's younger than me. I call her my 17-year-old mother because she doesn't stop. So, Tanis, you still got it. And so do all the other 70-year-olds out there.
I will also put forth an apology, just in case I also said that. Because
it was you.
I need context. It might have been me. Yeah. I use the word ancient a lot.
I know you do.
So I need context. I need to re-listen.
Yeah. Before we get into this week's creep stories, creep encounters, for people new to the show, this isn't a series about aging. Encounters with Creeps is a series in which Madelayne and I look at a couple serious creeps that have been in the news in Canada. But the main course of the series in the episodes is we open the doors to a floodgate of creep encounters from all the listeners out there. It turns out people who listen to Canadian Gothic rub elbows with a lot of creeps in their lives. And now, with 33 volumes of this series behind us, Madelayne and I have heard just about everything.
There's very little we haven't covered.
We've certainly been to a lot of grocery stores, bus stops.
Many workplaces.
And we went on a lot of walks with dogs too, right? One thing that did pop up in all of these episodes, though, is an odd trend that Ellie wants to ask about. Well, listen to this piece of voicemail, then we'll start getting into the stories.
Hey, Madelayne and Jordan. I just had to pause the Encounters with Creeps episode, really early in at Belt Guy, because there is some striking similarities with your East Coast creeps, I fear, and their affinity for leather. I can't be the only one who's noticed this, right? Like, glove guy, now belt guy. What is with creeps and leather? Is it just an East Coast thing? Am I missing West Coast leather creeps? I don't know if I want to find them if there are. But yeah, I just thought that was a striking similarity between both creeps out there on the East Coast.
West Coast Leather Creeps is a great band name for a terrible band.
Yeah. So what Ellie's referencing is in volume 33 of Encounters with Creeps, we heard from Ryan in Newfoundland, who told a story of someone who was getting him alcohol, I believe, and wanted someone to whip him with a leather belt. Ellie is noticing a similarity that I notice is that a lot of creeps, for whatever reason, have a propensity to leather. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I don't know.
I do think in a way leather is like inherently creepy because it is like the skin of an animal.
Right. I am, and like, I hate to get all dark and psychological with you, but I'm willing to bet it like tracks back to childhood and then being like disciplined slash abused with leather of some sort.
Oh my God, that is dark and disturbing.
Maybe I need to stop watching true crime.
I thought it was just like the tight black, the texture of it, the sound it makes when you slap it, or in the case
It does
of
smell good.
it does smell great. And with like
smells
Glove Guy, his thing was to pull the really tight leather gloves over your hand and then like open and close your fingers to make a fist. So you get this like fleshy creakiness of leather. I think that's creepy.
That's the definition of creepy, especially in like everything else in the environment going on.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it here. So the way we always start these episodes is by pulling a story out of the pages of the Canadian media, a very creepy story. We have two that we'll hear tonight. They're both so awful that I'm going to have to separate them. But let's open the show with this. This is a story from Chilliwack, BC, but it could very easily, with very little like artistic licensing, could become something straight out of a horror movie. A terrifying story played out in the playground of an elementary school in Chilliwack back in May, and it involved an attempted abduction of a child. But as creepy as an attempted abduction of a child is, this one's extra special creepy because the man was wearing a purple bunny-like mask. As I said, this is a creep story pulled straight out of a horror movie.
A scary and disturbing incident outside of this Chilliwack elementary school has left the community shaken. Police say a 7-year-old girl was nearly abducted in broad daylight before a bystander stepped in. Chilliwack RCMP say it happened just before 9 Wednesday morning at Chilliwack Central Elementary School. Police say a man wearing a purple bunny mask like this one allegedly tried to remove the 7-year-old girl from school grounds. But a very observant parent nearby intervened and the child was returned uninjured.
The parent essentially said that the situation didn't look quite right.
Shortly after, police arrested a suspect nearby. 49-year-old Joel McGillis is now charged with kidnapping a person under 16. Police say the suspect and the child were not known to each other and believe this is an isolated incident.
As a parent myself, I understand the frustration and the anxiety that this might create. And I certainly want to reassure families that the child involved is safe.
McGillis has a lengthy criminal record dating back more than 2 decades in several communities across the province, including charges related to assault, theft, and possession of stolen property. Police would not say if McGillis has been involved in any similar incidents.
The individual is known to police, and however, at this stage, we're continuing to present our information forward to Crown.
The Chilliwack School District did not comment before broadcast, but the district's Parent Advisory Council says families are shaken by the incident, calling it every parent's worst nightmare.
49-year-old Joel McGinnis is certainly a creep. This all happens like around 9 in the morning. So as school's getting in, this 49-year-old man wearing a large bunny mask. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, but the mask that he was wearing is from the character Jax on a show called Amazing Digital Circus. It's basically just looks like a stylized like Easter bunny mask. He was wearing this at the playground trying to get a kid to leave with him.
There's so many things wrong with this. First, I hate when kids are involved. And there's been an alarming number of stories with kids involved in the last few episodes of Creeps. And I don't like it.
And not just from the media. Like we get a lot of stories from listeners who are recounting something that happened to them when they were 7 or 8 years old.
Yes, like an alarming amount. But the bunny mask thing, the balls to try and
Yeah.
kidnap a child from school at 9 a.m. wearing something that may hide your identity, but it's very identifiable. Like
Yeah.
a purple bunny mask, and that like sticks out like a sore thumb as well.
Yeah. Well, I thought about the mask, why he would wear it. Because for one, it could be to hide his identity, but it also could be to entice a kid. Like if you, I don't know, had a Mickey Mouse mask on or something, maybe kids would be more willing to like talk to you, especially in a safe place like the playground at your school.
Right. How old was the girl? 7, did we say?
She was 7 years old, and this again, she's at the playground at her elementary school in the morning before class went in, and luckily a parent stepped in, realizing it didn't look right. We don't know exactly what the parent saw, but I'm sure seeing, like as a parent, if I was dropping my kids off at school and there was a random man with this bunny mask on, I'd definitely take notice.
Well, and if you're dropping your kid off at school, you probably do that every day. And you know who's coming and who's going and who's not supposed to be with who.
Yes.
Especially some weirdo in a bunny mask.
Just because it would stand out so obviously, it wouldn't be something that would ever happen. So everyone you would think would take notice. I guess it's probably a good thing that this guy had the mask on. As terrifying as an image as it is, it's a good thing. And when you hear the charges, he was charged with kidnapping, not like attempted abduction or anything like that. I wonder if where the line is. Like, did he maybe get the kid to begin leaving with him, and that was enough to
I
do
wonder
it?
if the kid was in the car when the parent was like, "Get out."
Yeah, or even just walking towards there, because I think like kidnapping is just like taking them, so it probably doesn't matter how
Yeah.
far you take them. If he was just standing there talking to the kid, being a weirdo, as awful as that is, I don't think it's illegal. Like I doubt he would have been charged with a crime if he was just on the playground being a lunatic. He'd just get probably
Um,
trespassed on the property.
well, probably context of like conversation as well. If he was like, "Come with me," and then they didn't, that would be attempted kidnapping.
Yeah. Kind of surprised a vigilante group didn't form and deal with this guy another way, because this could have ended a whole lot worse for this guy.
And should have. But I'll bet you the parent that stepped in was just like in so much shock that
Yeah.
now they're probably like, I should have rallied other parents. But at the time, they were just like, oh my God, I just stopped a kidnapping. Like,
By a guy in a bunny mask. Like, what the hell is this? In May. It's not like Halloween, you know? If it had been in October, it
uh,
would make sense. What's this guy doing with a Halloween mask in May?
being creepy.
Being an absolute creep. And this story is a story of trauma with a capital T, which is not necessarily what we do on Encounter with Creeps. When we hear from our listeners, we want trauma with lowercase t, and we got a whole bunch of it. Let's take our first break, and when we get back, we'll start breaking down some of the listener-contributed Encounters with Creeps. And we got some really good ones, and they're going to take us all around the world, as you'll see. Let's get into it after a quick break. Ms. Madelayne Klein, one of the things I love about this series is that we get to travel together here on Encounters with Creeps, but it's to all the worst places at the worst moments. That said, let's go to Yorkshire in the UK and hear about a creep in a store from our listener, Emma.
Hi, so I just want to start by saying I've recently come across this podcast and I'm really enjoying listening to it from all the way here in Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. Just like many women, I've got quite a few encounters with creeps that I could talk about. So where I'm from, we have quite a few seaside towns within driving distance, and this incident happened back in the early 90s. I would have been about 5, and my mum had taken me to one of these seaside towns for a day out with my godfather who'd driven us there. I remember we was walking along the pier, looking at the sea, and being so young, desperately, suddenly decided that I needed some conveniences.
I'm just going to stop it for a second. She says, I suddenly realized I needed some conveniences. I was trying to figure out what that meant. Just for anyone out there who, to save you a Google search, that means it can mean like a trip to a convenience store to use the bathroom. So that's, I think in the context here, she needed to go to the bathroom. Let's get back to it.
My mum took me to one. She was carrying quite a lot of stuff that we'd picked up, holding my ice cream for me. And she said, I will wait outside and you run in and come back out. I knew about stranger danger. My mum had always been very clear with me, but women had never really been part of that conversation. It just wasn't thought about or expected. So I was stood in the queue inside, and a woman was stood behind me in the queue, and she started asking me where my mum was, and I told her my mum was outside. So she says, well, that's okay, you can come into the toilet with me. And I replied, no, it's absolutely fine, I can go on my own. My mum's just 10 steps away, standing outside the door. But she got very insistent, to the point that she started pulling me along with her. I can remember looking up at her. I can't really picture her face. I can just remember feeling suddenly really frightened. She was so insistent, but there was like a desperation to the insistence. And she was becoming quite forceful. No matter how much I protested, she was really trying to make me go with her and pulling me along away from the entrance towards the back of the room. Somehow, can't quite remember how, I managed to break free and I ran outside to tell my mum. My mum immediately came in looking for this woman, but she wasn't in there anymore. And I can't remember what happened after that, but I know she hadn't walked out the front entrance where me and my mum were standing, because we'd have seen her. I can only assume there was another entrance, a back entrance that she knew about, which makes it all the more frightening to think that she was dragging me towards the back of the room. So yeah, thinking back on that is, I don't know what the woman wanted, but it's really scary to think of the possibilities.
First of all, I love her accent and storytelling prowess.
Oh, always. I love a good accent, a good UK accent.
And that one, it was just so scenic. We're on the seaside town, walking along the pier, and all of a sudden she's waiting in a queue for a convenience. So she's waiting in lineup to go to the bathroom as like a 5 or 6 year old. And I placed this story as our first listener contributed story because it has a bit of similarities to what happened at the Chilliwack playground. It's like just someone who's talking to the little girl, trying to get her. And in the case of the Chilliwack playground, it was a guy in a bunny mask. But in this case, it was just a woman trying to get the little kid to go into the toilet with her, which, we talk a lot about, is it a creep encounter? It could have been this woman is just for whatever reason wanted to be so helpful to help this little kid go into the bathroom and use the bathroom, or it is an ultra creep.
It's an ultra creep. Like, your
You
intentions
think?
can be as nice as you want them to be, but like, how you come across matters. And that's
Yeah.
touching anyone's child in any manner is not okay.
Yeah, especially touching them while trying to get them to go into the bathroom stall with you.
Well, right. So I'm wondering what this queue looked like, what this lineup looked like, what the bathroom looked like. Was it a singular bathroom? Was it a bunch of stalls? Which begs the question, how many people saw this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I find it hard to believe it was just the two of them at all times.
Usually if there's like a lineup for a bathroom, unless it's a singular bathroom, like you say at a gas station where it's like one toilet and a sink, you walk in, you shut the door behind you, lock it, and do your business. Maybe it was that kind of thing. The woman was waiting, like this creepy lady was waiting outside as someone was in it. Now this girl, Emma, is like I think she said a 5 or 6 year old, gets in line up behind the woman.
Yeah.
And the woman was trying to get Emma to go in the singular bathroom with her. I think that's what makes the most sense. Emma, despite being young, was smart enough to get out of there and go tell her mom. Her mom goes in to find the lady. She's nowhere to be found, which implies she fled out a back door or something. And I think for me, that's what puts it over the edge into something malicious and super creepy was going on.
There was that was opportunistic. She
Mhm.
she saw an opportunity and she took it. And yeah, she's a super creep and intentions were absolutely malicious
Mhm.
and very little. I don't think anything could change my mind.
Yeah, we'd have to go back to this is probably around Creep Encounters 20 to 25 or so. But there was the story one of the stories we discussed out of the news was a guy in Halifax who went into a bathroom at the mall and was like trying to get kids to drink liquor
Yes.
with him, and he ended up like locking them in a stall and they drank liquor so he'd let them leave. Creep
Ugh.
encounters in bathrooms are just awful. There's certain
Yeah.
places that are precious and shouldn't be messed with. Places like daycares, elementary schools, hospitals, churches. I'll add bathrooms to that list. And bathrooms.
Yeah.
Don't mess with
I
people in
agree.
any of these places,
If you could just leave everyone alone at all times, that would be great.
especially in a hospital, an elementary school, a daycare, in a bathroom.
You know what? Just treat everywhere as sacred, please, for the love of humanity.
Let's go to somewhere that I don't know if it's sacred or not. I've heard bad things about the city of Barrie.
Ontario?
Yeah, I've heard bad things about it. I think
Um,
it's a rough place.
I've heard bad things about like everywhere in Ontario because everyone thinks their hometown is the worst.
It's
A
the
good example is
roughest.
me and Regina, right?
Uh, I've seen Regina pop in the news here and there.
We could very well be the worst. That's what I always
Wasn't
say.
there a hepatitis outbreak at like the Tim Hortons or something in
Oh,
Regina?
probably. That's not surprising at all.
Let's go to Barry. We're going to hear from a listener named Kristen. She did some self censoring, which is probably unnecessary because this is a story about trying to buy pot, but she keeps
Nice.
referring to pot as cigarettes, as if pot's still illegal. But cannabis and marijuana is legal in Canada now. So, Kristen, when you tell this story again, you don't need to hide the fact that you were buying pot. No one's going to come after you.
Is she American? That's so
No,
funny.
she's in Barrie, or was in Barrie
Oh
at the
yeah,
time.
you just said
Yeah,
Barry.
come on, catch up,
Wow.
Madeline. So when you
Maybe I
listen,
should lay off the pot.
yeah, when you listen to this story, Kristen is not jumping through all these hoops to buy cigarettes. She doesn't want the police from the 90s to catch her for buying pot back then. Here it comes.
Let out of country listeners know that it's been like 9 years since pot's been legal.
Yeah,
It's been a hot minute.
yeah. I think you're safe now, Kristen. Here comes the story.
Kirsten from Ontario. I keep meaning to tell you my creeper story, and then I forget, but also I was trying to figure out how to word it, but then I realized this is like 20 years ago. So it really doesn't matter. Anyways, and at the time, cigarettes were legal, but other smoking items were not. And I had a close friend who was in college there, and she knew somebody, and she gave me his number. We agreed we were going to meet at Bandito Video. And I lived nearby. Now, because this was somebody who's like quite a long time friend of my girlfriend's, um, he wasn't necessarily what you would think of when you think of going to meet somebody for some cigarettes. So I wasn't worried. Have the little one in her stroller. She's passed out. I head over there and I can see a guy. He's just outside of the video store and he's like looking around. I'm like, oh, hey, I don't know what the guy's name was, John. I'm Kirsten. Or is that are you John? Whatever. Yeah, cool. I'm Kirsten. Cool. So he says, his apartment's just like up the street and we can head over there. I'm like, okay. I didn't think we were going to be going off somewhere else, but, you know, maybe I'll walk halfway and then you can just like meet me back kind of thing. And then my phone rings and my heart absolutely stopped because the person calling me is John. And I pick it up. Hello? It's like, hey, I'm in the video store. Let me know when you're here. I'm like, I am. You're going to come outside right now for me? Because at this point now, I'm realizing that I have no idea who this dude is that I'm talking to. And he's trying to get me to go to his apartment with him. And he's pretending like he is the person that I was supposed to be meeting. And as soon as he realizes that I've now caught on, he books it out of there. Oh, when I tell you my soul left my body in that moment, the real John was a complete gentleman. walked us home, made sure we were safe. But I never forgot that that child was now grown, and we lived. I guess I would say don't buy cigarettes for people you don't know, but now you don't have to because it's legal. Anyway, thanks for all you do. Bye.
The fact that her baby was with her, it was almost like an afterthought in the storytelling, but I think that makes a huge difference in this story.
It does. And it goes to show what kind of person that other guy is.
Yeah, what an
Like
absolute
opportunistic and like she had a baby with her. What
What
are
was
you
he
planning? What do
planning?
you think is gonna happen?
Yeah, because she did.
Ooh.
I get her point because it's like if let's say if I had my baby with me or something, and Madelayne, you told me, this my longtime friend lives in Halifax, and he can help you with the cigarettes. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like he's going to be at the mall. Just go see him there. Maybe that'd be something like I trust you so much. You're a longtime friend. I would trust them. So maybe I'm trying to understand why she'd bring her baby along. So I can understand that part of it.
Yeah.
She sees the guy. And she's like, hey, you John? He's like, sure, I'm whoever you want me to be. You want to go?
Sure.
Let's go to my apartment.
Oh
Like
my
we're going
God.
right to third base.
That's so weird and creepy and
Yeah.
gross.
And for someone like for a creep to jump on an opportunity that quickly without anything, it seems like it was just, are you John? Yeah, I am. Let's go. My apartment. You and the
Ugh.
baby right now.
See, that's terrifying. And especially because she wasn't alone. She was with her infant child, which also leads me to believe she was very young at the time.
Hmm.
Like it was the 90s. I know it's hard to tell by voices, but just from that voicemail, she sounded fairly young still.
She was, say it, Madelayne. Was she ancient?
She did not sound ancient, in my
Like
opinion.
70 or something?
Well, and if she's got a grown child. So I imagine she was quite young, and we've all made questionable decisions.
The video store dates it. They haven't had video stores in about 20 years, but
I miss the video stores.
what's better than a story that involves going to buy pot at a video store?
Very little. Very little. I miss those days sometimes.
Hmm. Well, that was a good story. That was a great trip back in time to Barrie. A simpler time, certainly a creepier time. Now we're going to hear from someone in Manitoba who's who's going to tell us about the person who used to buy them beer. That's another kind of theme that we've come across on Encounters with Creeps. We've had a lot of stories about the creepy person that bought you beer when you were underage.
Ugh, I hope it has nothing to do with leather.
This one doesn't have anything to do with leather, but I will tell you, I did censor this voicemail slightly. And the reason I censored it is because it's anonymous, but the caller explained that there seemed to be some kind of sexual relations between the creep and some young women involved in the story. And it was just, I didn't want to include that in there, but just keep that in mind as you hear the story.
So this story happened in 2004 or 2005 in Morden, Manitoba. A bunch of underage kids would hang out at this older guy's apartment. He was maybe 40 or 45 years old. He would buy lucky beer and whiskey. Sometimes he would cook spaghetti. There was about 20 or 30 of us that would hang out there. We would sleep like log rolled on the floor. We would just lay down beside each other, and there were so many of us that we would just cover the surface of the living room. As an adult looking back now, one of the worst parts was that one of the kids' moms would come there and play cards with this guy, and they would just hang out. The police ended up raiding his apartment, and all of us kids, or most of us, just jumped out of the windows. I sometimes wonder where everyone's parents thought we were, and who ended up calling the police. But
Okay, I stop it there. That gives us a glimpse into Borden, Manitoba 20 years ago. And that doesn't sound like a great place. I think, if anything, that story is like an ad for better social services in that area.
Yeah. Oh, just a crash pad for teens. It's like that scene of The Simpsons. It's like, it's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your child is?
It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
I told you last night. No! Where is Bart anyway? His dinner's getting all cold and eaten.
Yeah, well, this is very much one of those kinds of stories. I find it dark just that how many of them are there relying on this creepy man to get them liquor and make them spaghetti. I think the spaghetti, part of the cringiest part of the whole thing is this idea of this creep making a bunch of kids spaghetti in his apartment.
Well, part of me wants to feel bad for him because, like, he clearly had no one else and, like, just wanted company
Well,
or,
he had
like, companionship, if you
he had
will.
one of the parents of some of the kids show up to play cards with him and stuff, but they were probably in
That's
rough
true.
shape too if you met them. But it's yeah, I think it's for some people maybe it's feeling cool and hanging out with the younger people. Maybe this man maybe got a little something out of that. And for the
Yeah.
kids, it was, when you're like 16 years old, all you want is like a place for privacy, be it like your friend's car or someone's apartment or someone whose parents are gone away or something. You just like thirst for that when you're that age. So
Well, and you want a place to drink and hang out with your friends.
yeah, and
That's
so
like the dream.
yeah, but what we did in Cape Breton is we would find, a baseball field at night or like a little spot in the woods, and that was our hangout. I wouldn't have wanted to go a pack of 30 of us into some freak's apartment.
To my like 16-year-old brain, that sounds like a lot of fun. Right now, that's
Okay.
my biggest nightmare.
Yeah. When I hear his telling of the story, he doesn't really get into, any horrible thing that happened. Again, I said I edited out like one line just because I didn't feel right including it. But just his telling of it, you can hear that he has bad feelings about that memory. I could hear in his voice that there was some trauma there.
It also didn't get rated for fun. They didn't rate it on a hunch. Something weird was going on there, whether it was drugs or sexual abuse, who knows?
Mm.
It was not, something was wrong over there.
Yeah. Could you imagine the bleakness that would be reading the police report related to the tip that came in and that raid? Could you imagine what was written in there?
Yeah.
No, thank
He
you.
said he didn't know who called the cops. Well, 30 people were hanging out there. Could have been anyone.
Yeah.
Like,
or a neighbor. It was probably someone's social worker.
maybe. Yeah.
There's this kid on my roster I'm looking after, and you should look into this.
They're always at this weirdo's house.
I find that this whole topic of this story, I find it dark. Let's move on to something a little more pleasant. Let's hear about a creep hanging out near a cemetery in the middle of the woods at night.
Oh, good. My favorite.
Hey Madelayne, hey Jordan. I just wanted to share a really quick encounter with creeps of an encounter with a man in the woods. So, a group of my friends and I always go out into the woods to hike and see this old cemetery that's there. It's pretty common in the area that I'm in, but we went out there and saw a little Honda SUV drive by. Didn't think anything of it. It was like a cute little blue car, whatever. Very inconspicuous. Normal. When we went to leave, we saw this car again. And there was just a naked man. Butt out and everything. Running behind the car, wearing high heels and tights. And that's it. Nothing else. Just tights and high heels. Ass out. Everything. And we didn't really know what to do other than just laugh and keep driving. Yeah, so we just saw a naked man in the woods. Alright, that's all. Tell me what you think he was doing. I don't know.
Let's start with what was he wearing? I don't know women's wear. Since he had high heels, I'm guessing these quote unquote tights he was wearing were probably women's wear as well. But she said several times his ass was hanging out. So what was he wearing?
So I wonder if they were like separate stockings that just like looked like tights.
Okay, like leotards? Is that the word?
No, a leotard, isn't a leotard like a full body suit?
I thought a leotard. What's the things that I don't think they're as common anymore, but I remember when I was a kid, my mom would wear them, and they're really thin. And when you pull them up your leg, it almost makes your leg look like it's tanned or something. And if
pantyhose.
Pantyhose is the word. Yeah, not leotard. Pantyhose. Could he have been wearing pantyhose?
But pantyhose, aren't they like covering? They like not. I know they're like see-through, but they go over and like up toward your abdomen.
Okay, maybe you're right. I've never really seen them that high up.
I haven't worn them since I was probably 6. So I'm not a pantyhose kind of gal.
I don't think they're that common anymore, right? All I remember about them is my mom like getting you'd call it like a run, like it would get a little rip or something,
Yes.
and then they'd look where she's like, oh, I got to run in them.
Well, and then you could fix it with nail polish.
Oh, nice. Good
Clear
tip.
nail
You learn
polish,
something
yes.
every episode.
If anyone's still living in the 90s.
But what could it be then? Tights that involve your ass hanging out. Unless you had tights that were pulled down.
I think it's like separate stockings that were like pantyhose fabric, but just pulled up separately.
Okay, so we got that settled. Now, why would he be naked in the woods chasing a car dressed like this?
But he was wearing high heels. So he was,
Yes.
I'd like to know what kind. Like, were they like pumps, stilettos, wedges?
I'm saying stilettos.
That's what I'm picturing. And he can run in them naked. As creepy and weird as it is, it's also kind of impressive.
Yeah, we're talking about an athlete, right?
Right, absolutely. This guy has practiced. I don't know when and where, and I don't really want to know when and where.
I'm thinking whatever, like, I think the main event, they just missed. Something was going on in that car.
Oh.
And then whatever happened ended up with he's outside of the car. Obviously, someone's inside the car driving away, leaving him out there dressed like this. I think her and her friends just happened upon the most bizarre situation and they just caught the tail end of it.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, no, for some reason I registered the blue car at the beginning, the inconspicuous blue car. But for some reason I pictured this naked guy running in high heels and tights, running after their car.
Yeah, no, he's this
So
unrelated.
your theory makes a lot of sense. Your theory is really the only thing, like that's got to be what happened. Why else? Like a psychotic break?
If it was a psychotic break, someone else is in the car driving away.
There you go. Yeah, they just missed the main event, as you put it. I really hope that that's the cover photo for this episode.
It isn't. The cover photo, great segue, because the cover photo is in a late night grocery store, which will appear in a story we're going to hear after this break. It has a guy standing outside of the grocery store wearing a bunny mask, which you can probably remember where that came from. And it has another man standing beside him. And that man is perhaps the creepiest man in all of Canada. When we get back from a break, we're going to hear a story that is easily one of, if not the most disturbing story I've heard in Canadian media.
Oh no.
Let's take a short break and we'll hear about, we'll just call it the story of the feces in the face. Madelayne, as I said before the break, this story is easily one of the most disturbing we'll have come across in quite a while. It involves a man responsible for a series of random attacks against women in British Columbia. And one of the attacks is particularly horrific to imagine. I'm going to read you this article. Here it comes. A British Columbia man described by a judge as having a willingness to target women has been sentenced after carrying out a series of deeply disturbing attacks on strangers. Fitsum Zidu received a combined sentence of 695 days in jail after pleading guilty to assault, sexual assault, and committing an indecent act. With credit for time served, he's going to spend another 228 days behind bars before beginning 3 years of probation. The case that drew the most attention happened near a SkyTrain station in June of 2025. According to a sentencing decision, Zidu approached a 17-year-old girl from behind without warning. He grabbed her and smeared feces across her face and into her mouth while laughing and holding his cell phone, leading the terrified teen to believe he was recording the attack. The assault only ended when she screamed, broke free, and ran to a nearby home to call 911. Police later confirmed the incident was not actually filmed. Officers responded quickly and found Zidu nearby, where he was already approaching another woman who was pushing a stroller. According to court documents, he was following her, asking her to smell his hands. But the story doesn't end there. After spending less than 2 weeks in custody for these incidents, he was released to a recovery home. Court records show that he walked away within hours of arriving to the recovery home, and 2 days later was arrested again after allegedly threatening to kill a woman outside a strip club while he was exposing himself. His criminal record stretches back to 2019 and includes convictions for sexual assault, indecent acts, and repeated breaches of court orders. In several of the cases, he committed new offenses within only hours of being released from custody. During sentencing, the court heard that psychologists consider Zidou to be at a high risk of reoffending. Their assessment warned that his most likely victims are women and that future offenses could involve touching, public indecency, verbal threats, and incidents involving feces. While acknowledging Zidou's significant mental health and substance abuse issues, the judge concluded that protecting the public has to take priority, calling the attack on the teenage girl specifically vile and humiliating and deserving of a sentence that strongly denounces this behavior. So what do you think of this story?
So, like, why does this gargoyle keep getting let out? Like, why are we even giving him a chance? Oh my God.
That's a good question, eh? And it's what I just read there is a very short summary of this guy's history. I actually got the sentencing decision, and there's so much more to it. This is someone for the last, 10 years has been an utter nuisance, but more so than a nuisance, like a vile, disturbing nuisance. Like that.
That's like biological warfare.
Yeah, and for them to even mention, like when they're doing the risk assessment of him in the future, incidents involving feces, like if that's something that's a risk.
He needs to be committed somewhere, anywhere. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's a prison. I don't care if it's a hospital. I don't care if it's someone's basement. I really don't care.
And then when you have someone who does all this stuff and has a tendency to commit crimes like as soon as they're released, or commit crimes and or to commit crimes that involve breaching conditions.
Like within hours of release?
Yeah, it's like that whole thing, like trick me once, shame on you, trick me twice, shame on me. I wish that was written into Canadian Criminal Code.
Yes, it's just so ridiculous.
Of all the things I see people complain about with our government here in Canada is the willingness to release offenders and how delicate we are on some offenders. Like people criticize that, and that's one thing I really agree with. I see it time and time again. Just last week in Halifax, we had a major incident that involved this guy at Costco. It was caught on film, and people listening may have heard about it because it was like this viral thing. It was just this guy at Costco ranting and raving at a group of Muslim women, I think, calling them horrible names, shouting about immigration, saying like, we're going to kill you all. Like it was that bad. And it led to a press release from the police being like, with his photo, like if anyone knows who he is, we want to find him, and this and that. They ended up figuring out who the guy was. And when the police went to arrest him, he resisted arrest with a knife. They arrested him, charged him with like hate crimes and stuff. But then the next morning he got out on bail. And I figure like if you resist arrest with a knife, you shouldn't be getting out the next day.
Right. And I think it comes down to cost. It's just like costs too much to keep them in custody. But like at what cost?
Yeah, I bet you this 17-year-old who was approached from behind and had feces smeared in her face probably thinks it would be worth the cost.
Yeah, exactly. It's so, yeah, I totally agree that people that shouldn't be released are being released, and it's, that's a parole board issue. Mm-hmm. But then like on the other hand, studies show that like implementing the death penalty does nothing to deter violent crime.
And it's actually more expensive. People often say like, we shouldn't be paying to keep this, to look after this guy for 50 years, just kill him. But the death penalty is actually more expensive for the amount it costs to go through those trials and everything else. In the end, they say it costs more to actually put someone to death. But anyway, most of the creeps we hear from don't deserve the death penalty, but they probably deserve much more than a slap on the wrist. Let's get into our final two stories of the night. And I think we'll start to slowly lighten it up. That one we just talked about, I apologize to anyone out there who ate before this episode. But that's what you get for eating before a podcast called Encounters with Creeps. Here's Jasmine's creep.
Hi, Jordan and Madelayne. My name is Jasmine, and I'm from Ontario. I'm a huge fan of the show. I've actually been listening since your Nature Boy series, and for a while I've contemplated sending in a story, so I just kind of figured I finally would. Anyways, this creep story happened about 10 years ago now when I was in high school. It was this really nice summer night, and I was hanging out with my neighbor and one of my really good friends, and the suburb that we grew up on was really close. since there were several families that all had kids around the same age. So it was really common for the parents to kind of get together and party in the evenings, and all the kids would just kind of hang out. So on this particular night, the parents were just down the road from us having a fire and, partying, and had told me and my friends to come get them around 11 o'clock. So at 11, we all started to make our way down towards the house. And when we walked into the backyard, we could see all the parents were like singing and dancing and having fun. So we just went, you know what, we'll give them a few more minutes and we'll do another lap around the block. So my street was pretty much a crescent. So at the bottom, it connected to another relatively quiet street. So we turned onto this connecting street, and as soon as we did, we noticed a white pickup truck that was a little bit down the road and seemed to be driving a little bit slow kind of behind us, but we didn't really pay it much mind and just kind of continued walking. We eventually turned back onto the other end of our street, just as the pickup was kind of catching up to us. As we turned, we heard the pickup kind of accelerate and turn onto our street, so once again, it's beside us. We're a little bit worried by this point, so we decide, you know what, let's just double back, go down the connecting street, and then back up to where our parents are, just in case. So we turn around, start walking along the connecting street, and all of a sudden we hear the pickup accelerate again. And it pulled into someone's driveway, turned around, and once again, on the same street as us, going the same way. So now we're really starting to panic. And we could see that there were two men in the front seat, so we decide, you know what, we're just going to take off running towards our parents. And just as we start to run, the truck all of a sudden accelerates, following us along the street. So we run onto the connecting street, and we actually run towards a house that there were some bushes and some light, and we duck behind the bushes. And again, the truck comes flying up the road past us, and we're like, okay, they didn't spot us. We're safe. We're good. Nope. Wrong again. Because all of a sudden, it once again pulls into some random driveway just a few houses down from us, turns around, and stops directly in front of the house that we're hiding behind these bushes in. Thank God my neighbor had the wherewithal to all of a sudden stand up and hold up her phone in the air and scream, "We're calling the police." And just like that, they accelerated super fast away from us and disappeared down the road. So at this point, we're totally freaked out. We just fully run back to our parents, tell them the whole story, and we're so upset. We're so scared. And we're worried that this truck might come back. Shout out to the dads of the group, because they end up going out and looking and walking around the street to try to find this truck. Probably still tipsy, might I add. But anyways, we didn't end up finding the truck. We did file a police report, but they never found the guys. But yeah, me and my friends, we still talk about this and what might have happened had she not threatened to call the police. We don't know. We have theorized that maybe they were concerned about three young girls out alone at night. But if so, they seriously need to rethink their approach, because speeding around and then slowly driving alongside us while not saying a word is extremely creepy. But anyways, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Were we just being dramatic, or do you guys also think it's creepy?
I think that's an easy one for me to answer. Like, them driving by once was whatever, twice, coincidence. No. But like third, fourth time, and then stopping in front of the house, certainly creepy. What they were trying to do, though, whether it was abduct them, freak them out, or whatever, I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I think if it's two girls hiding in a bush and one of them yells at someone, "I'm calling the police," and that person takes off, that's a creep encounter.
Oh, like, it's a creep encounter whichever way you swing it. The best case scenario is they were trying to scare them. And the worst case scenario was they were trying to abduct them.
Mm-hmm. Even if they were younger, like let's say it was two like 17 or 18-year-old guys who have, their dad's truck or something like that. If they were like driving around trying to like meet girls, they're doing that in a way that is a creep encounter. Because like young men would do that, pull up and maybe say something, like this kind of like catcalling or something.
I think if it were that situation, they would have made it a lot more obvious that that's what they were doing.
Yeah, I don't think, like, no one's that kind of, like, stunted that they'd be like, just pull in this car, go around and go in that driveway and go around. We'll just wait outside the bush.
Creepily follow them. Like, that'll work. They will just jump right in.
Yeah. Like, every time I try to pick up a girl, she calls the cops.
Gee, maybe it's you.
Yeah. Jasmine, that was a creep encounter. I did like the idea of all the neighborhood parents getting together and partying and listening to music. Sounds like a great neighborhood that these guys were trying to probably abduct some kids in.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun neighborhood to grow up in if you don't get abducted by weirdos in a truck.
Let's move on to our final listener contributed creep encounter. This one too will serve as the setting for the cover art image. This story takes place at a late night grocery store. There's something about this story. I don't know if it's a creep encounter, but I really like this story. So let's go on a little journey to a late night grocery store.
I'm intrigued.
Hi, Jordan and Madelayne. I absolutely love your Encounters with Creeps series. I don't want to give my name in this one because I don't know. The encounter that I'm going to describe was just so disturbing, and I just don't even want my name attached to it. But what happened was it was a couple of years ago. I went to a grocery store at night. It was one of those stores that's like open until midnight. So I went in there to get whatever I needed. And as I was in one of the aisles, these two much younger guys, came up to me, and they seemed innocent enough at first, but like, persistent, like, complimenting me, trying to get my name and ask where I lived. And I was kind of giving them like fake details and being friendly, but hopefully I wanted to come off as like friendly, but aloof. So what really disturbed me is when I walked out of the aisle, they kept following me, like they weren't stopping. And this really bothered me. And I just kind of got this weird feeling like, oh my gosh, they're going to follow me out to the parking lot. They're going to either attack me or they're going to see my car, get my license plate. Like I just didn't want them to know anything about me. So I went and I got a manager and I said, look, these two guys, they're following me around. They're not leaving me alone. So she walked out to the parking lot with me and they followed, and I was waiting. I didn't want to go to my car because I didn't want them to see my car. So I was waiting for them to leave, but they wouldn't leave. So now they're heckling me because they see me with the manager and they know I've complained about them. So they just start shouting out all of these terrible things like, what makes you think we want your old, decrepit, what? They said, your eyes are half closed. Well, it was like 11 o'clock. I was tired, but then they just started heckling my appearance. And I didn't even care about that because I was just so scared by their aggression. And when they finally left, I was so relieved. And then I was able to get into my car. But honestly, I did not rest until I was on the highway, far away from these two. And I don't think I ever went back to that store again because it was just that scary and creepy, and how it escalated really quickly from, complimenting me to being so aggressive that I knew like I could just sense the undercurrent of violence there. And it was really disturbing. Anyway, thanks for letting me share this. And I just hope I hope I've finally had my fill of creep experiences because I feel like I've had a lot.
That's an interesting story, right? I don't know if it fits the format of a creep encounter. It's more of I've often thought about doing a series called like Encounters with Teenagers, and it's just about times I was at a McDonald's and they threw the ice cream and then they told off the worker. It could be those kinds of stories. That's kind of where I place this. It seems she just rubbed her elbows against some unhinged, unfiltered teenagers.
It's so unfortunate that she was frightened, because like she's a better woman than I. Because had I been standing with the manager and they started hurling insults my way, they would have left with hurt feelings. Like
Yeah,
I don't
well,
care how old they are, you go low, I'm gonna go to hell, and I would make them cry.
I think that's the appropriate thing, but they were taking it too far by like, it's one thing for kids to be like teenagers to be like screwing with some adult and call them a name or yell the F word and then run off or something. But this seemed to be more aggressive and like following
They
and
were
stuff.
like
And
physically threatening her.
yeah, and for it to be a sole woman alone at a late night grocery store, which is just kind of an inherently creepy place, for
And
them to do
teenagers
that,
are
it's
scary in any time of day, anywhere.
I often say like they're who I'm most scared of because it's like they have I know. They have no value of life. They feel like they have nothing to lose, no consequences.
They're very egocentric.
Yeah, I find them
They're
terrifying.
they are.
It's when
They
I'm
don't care.
when I'm walking, yeah, if I'm walking down the street and I see like two teenagers walking towards me, I'm crossing the street every time.
Me too.
I'm not taking any chances.
That's a roll of the dice I'm not taking.
If I was at a late night grocery store and I saw two kids in the aisle, they wouldn't have a chance to compliment me because
No.
I'd be gone. I'd leave.
I would automatically assume that they were like stabby and then wanted to rob me with their like weird llama haircuts.
Yeah. Or at a Walmart. You ever see like teenagers alone at a Walmart? They're up to no good every time.
Yes.
But I wanted to play this one as the final story of the night because although it's not like a happy ending or anything, it's definitely like on the way to a palate cleanser.
Trauma with a little T.
Very small T. And it kind of ties into our first voicemail because these terrible kids did maybe what you did to poor Tanis, because it seems like they were insulting her based on her age, like, we don't want your shriveled up. Like there was a bit of that going on.
So I did not say anything of the sort in Tanis's direction. I actually didn't say anything of the sort in anyone's direction. I may have referred to someone in their 70s as ancient.
Okay.
But I have this inkling that we were talking about teens. And so when we were teens, 70 was ancient, right? Like I know.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah. We've covered this a little bit at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, you also weren't at a grocery store shouting it in the parking lot.
Correct. That's right. Like that's just so unfortunate. Like when we were teens, we were like, I wouldn't say bad, but like when we were loitering around a grocery store or a convenience store, we didn't want to frighten people.
No, I feel like what my friends and I did is we found the Karen type person and we would really push back against that. We were always skateboarding, so if God forbid someone was like, "Don't skateboard by my business."
Oh, that was it.
Yeah, it was on.
So you wouldn't start it, correct?
No, we certainly wouldn't, because we could entertain ourselves. But if anyone like caught our attention in a negative way,
it's like, don't do that. That's going to have the opposite effect.
Yeah, but all this to say, we've gone through a whole lot of creep encounters tonight. We heard them from all over the world. We went to Barrie. We were in a really dark apartment in Manitoba. We had a nice walk along a seaside pier in Yorkshire in the UK. This was a great night of creep encounters, despite the content.
Despite some of the really like heavy content, the stuff that wasn't heavy was like nice and kind of light and airy.
But I think the really heavy stuff, especially where we're not hearing from the victims of the Chilliwack school or the anonymous teenager who had the feces smeared on her, those stories serve as a great reminder of how bad it can be, but they all have but there's shades of that in all of the other stories. So I think it really works out. And I think we're going to do many more episodes in the series. So I want to call out to everyone out there listening. I'm sure you've had a creep encounter. We want to hear it. Go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Use the voice recorder. It's really easy to use. And if you make any mistakes, I'll clean you up so you sound like a star when Madelayne and I cringe along to your story.
If he can make me sound brilliant, he can make anyone sound brilliant.
That's the feather in my cap. Well, we've been through a lot tonight. Let's go wash our hands and put hand sanitizer in our eyes.
You can do whatever you want. I'm going to sit on the couch and rot for the rest of my beautiful Sunday.
I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Canadian Gothic. I want to give a huge and sincere thanks to everyone who took their time to share their creep encounters with us. As always, your stories serve as an often entertaining reminder to keep our eyes open and our wits about us. And to any other listeners out there who have a creep story to share, we'd love to hear it. Go to the site now. It's thecanadiangothic.com/contact. The voice recorder is easy to use, and if you make any mistakes or misspeak, don't worry about it. I'll edit it before it goes to air, and I'll make sure we're all sounding our best. We're excited to hear from you. And with that said, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, I have some thanks to pass out. First, a big thanks to Madelayne for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners. Thanks to Monty, Datta for the music for this show, and Linz from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides the delightful intro and outro voiceover. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, the Canadian Gothic would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to our premium feed. Lori, Amy, and Megan, we appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But more than that, the premium feed will give you those episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a back catalog of episodes. That sounds like something you're interested in. You can go premium and support the show at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support what we're doing here by telling everyone you know to listen to the Canadian Gothic. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird, or creepy in this case.
Thank you for listening to Canadian Gothic.
I guess,
I need to know how old this guy is and how old they were. So they obviously weren't 19 or 18.
Yeah.
Whatever it is in Newfoundland, I don't know. I want to know how old this guy was.
I'm thinking he's, just based on everything that's said, I'm thinking he's like early 30s.
Right. Like, I'm not picturing someone ancient, but also not...
Ancient? How old's ancient?
Ancient's like 70.